Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Eleanor and today you'll be joining me with my October wrap-up. So in the month of October I did end up finishing 7 books, which I am very pleased about, and my average rating overall was very good. I think I had a few 5 stars there as well, and just generally I was enjoying a lot of what I was reading in the month of October. It probably also helps that October was the month that we finally got out of lockdown, so I just think my mood overall was like way up here for most of this month, which I'm very pleased to report. It probably has definitely impacted my reading this month for the better. So of these 7 books that I read in the month, 4 of those were physical books and 3 of those were audio books, so a nice split. I also did participate in the readathon tome topple, and you can hopefully find my vlog somewhere soon for that. So I feel like having participated in a readathon where the goal is to read books over 500 pages, I still did really well to have finished 7 books overall. Evie has also decided to join us, so I'm going to actually do the smart thing and remove her jingly collar so that hopefully you can't hear her as much. But we're going to jump right into it with the first book that I finished this month, which was Eleanor, Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. Now this is one that I consumed via audiobook, and I feel like I've always heard a lot about this book, but I've never quite got there myself. So the audiobook was a perfect way to go because I didn't have to put in a lot of effort, and I ended up really enjoying this one. So this one is about a woman who is mid to late 20s, I think, and she has a very routine life, and you kind of get glimpses that there's something going on deeper beneath the surface, but as the story goes on, we peel back that layer more and more. I ended up falling in love with Eleanor like many people before me because she starts off very in her own lane and this is the only way, and then things start to disrupt her patterns and she has to adapt and adjust. This book is very heartfelt and I love the character's journey throughout as she goes through her everyday life and the people that she meets, and it's very much a slice of life type story. This one is fiction, and if you're looking for something that ends up overall hopeful, but be warned that the character does go through a lot of stuff and there is suicidal tendencies that crop up in this one. If you're okay with all of that, this is definitely a good book to dive into. Just give it about 50 pages or so as you get used to Eleanor, and then I think you'll really enjoy it. Next up we have book 2 in the Queendom of the Seven Lakes duology by A.B. Endicott, or Alice if you follow her over on Instagram, and that was King of the Seven Lakes. This is the bind-up edition, and I really enjoyed this one. Again, I think I gave part 2 of this 4 stars. This is political high fantasy. You have an assassin and a king as they have to work together and kind of iron out some kinks in ruling a country. The main highlight of this second book for me was the development in character of our 2 main characters, especially from book 1. I think that the author really honed in on their dynamic and their relationship and how that friendship kind of works, and I love that for this. I would describe these books as more of like a slow burn, slow build political turmoil type thing happening, and I do really enjoy that. The ending especially of this book too was very satisfying, and I really enjoyed how things sort of came together. I also think it's a fair assumption to say that if you have enjoyed Pride of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon, that you will definitely enjoy this one too, because there are similar fantastical things happening in these, but they are both unique to themselves, and just if you've liked elements from this, you could really enjoy this one. Next up we had a reread, and that was The Song Rising by Samantha Shannon, and I wanted to reread this before Tome Topple started in the later half of the month because I did want to get to the 4th book in this series, which, spoiler alert, I did manage to do. We'll talk about that in a minute. But out of the whole series, I feel like this 3rd book is my least favorite, although it's still up there, but this is definitely a bridging type book, and I still did really enjoy this reread. I think I ended up giving it 4 stars. Just overall, the Mime Order, that book number 2, elevated the series so much, and I'm still caught up on that one. that book was phenomenal. If you haven't heard of the Bone Season in general, it is a future set clairvoyance type series where you have an underground type society that is trying to push back against this big government corporation which is trying to take over. And there are mind powers in it, which I really love. I love our main character, Paige, although she does get beat up a lot. Like, this girl goes through a lot of stuff, and in this third book we do get the world opening up more, so the stage is set for future books. So still a great addition and crucial for the series as a whole. 4 stars. Then we had the first book that I finished for the readathon that I mentioned earlier, and that is Treasure and Dirt by Chris Hammer. Wow, 5 stars straight off the bat. This is an Australian set crime novel where we follow a lead detective and a junior detective as they have to find out who has killed a miner who was found crucified down in his opal mine. I love this thing that Chris Hammer does, and that is that he throws out a lot of plot lines and a lot of story threads that he could potentially reel in later, and he always does a really good job of controlling his narrative and his story and bringing it all back in and paying it all off. And he's done the same thing here in Treasure and Dirt, and I just enjoyed this so much. This one was also consumed via audiobook, and I really loved the narrator in this. He was really, really solid, and I feel like that kind of impacted my enjoyment of this as well for the better. So if you're wanting a new release outback kind of Australian set crime, you can feel the heat coming off the page of this one. Like, it is very atmospheric, and I would highly recommend it. I'm excited to go back and read more of his backlist now, because I have read Scrublands, but I haven't read Silver or Trust, I think his other ones are. So hopefully they become available in audiobook format for me soon, and I can delve into them. Jumping back a couple of books, because I accidentally did jump forward there a bit, we have The Shadow House by Anna Downs. This is a thriller by an author whose debut came out last year, and which I also read and really enjoyed. I would say that Anna Downs books are really good introductions into thrillers, so if you haven't yet tried the genre out, definitely think about giving her a go. This one is dual perspective as well, and takes place north of Sydney, as we have a mum of 2 who escapes to this very idealistic small eco community, and we also follow another mum from another kind of period as she's going through similar parenting things. So I feel like this would be super relatable too if you are a young mum starting out, because there are a few things in this which were commentary on becoming a mum and things that you have to do, and I enjoyed that aspect even though I don't have kids at the moment. And I did really enjoy this kind of dual timeline thing that we had going on, set in the same place but just a little bit apart in time. And this kind of has like a bogeyman type vibe in it, as well, as the main character who moves to this little eco village starts to find mysterious things on her doorstep, and this creepy carving in the woods on all these different trees, and just this kind of urban myth type vibe that crops up and makes this spooky and thrilling to get into. So I ended up giving this one 4 stars because it was a really easy to read, bingeable thriller. And much like her first novel, Anna Downs writes these really flawed but believable main characters. So sometimes I was finding myself getting frustrated at our main character in this, because it's like, just don't do that, do it a bit differently. But at the same time, she was so believable because she was making human errors and mistakes. So very believable characters. Then we had my third and final audiobook of the month, and that is When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. This was incredible, just as good as everyone is saying it is. I know that this has been around for a little bit and gets recommended a fair bit just on the channels that I follow and watch, and for good reason. So I think I also ended up giving this one 5 stars. This is a thriller, crime, social commentary type that takes place in Brooklyn, in America, and this was doing a lot of good things and opening up a lot of conversations, especially around gentrification, where we have a predominantly black neighborhood full of culture that is getting overtaken by white people who are just buying in as the neighborhood starts to become better as the black people are pushed out of it. So a lot of social commentary in this one, and very, very eye-opening and a really good look at the conversation. This one does take it to a more kind of thrilling aspect, and a nefarious plot really does bubble into this one. I felt very uneasy listening to this one, as you could feel this plot bubbling away underneath and you were just waiting for it to break the surface, and I was getting mad in all the right places, and it was very eye-opening and a great book. We follow two main characters in this one as well. We follow Sydney, who is a black woman, and we follow Theo, who is a white man, and their alternating perspectives and being in their different headsets as they were being compared, and their different experiences. A great way to tell the story. And then last but definitely not least, we have one of my favorite books of the month, and that is The Mask Falling by Samantha Shannon. I am so glad that I picked this one up for Tome Topple. I'm just so glad that I picked this one up in general. I've been meaning to get to this one since its release at the start of the year, and proud of myself that I finally got there. This is book number 4 in the Bone season, which was just phenomenal. We have even higher stakes. We have the world opening up even more from that third bridging novel, and I just enjoyed this one so much. I especially loved the banter between two characters in this one as well, Paige and Warden. There were so many good moments in this. Again, Paige goes through a lot. I'm surprised that she is still alive at this point. And we get to meet more Voyants and their different abilities, and more amazing characters. We get visits from old ones as well, and it was amazing. There was also a big what the hell moment in this one. There was a huge twist about this far through, I want to say, which had me nearly crying, but overall this gave me goosebumps on a couple of different occasions, and yeah, there were some tears here and there, and I'm just so happy that I've read this and that I slipped back into one of my favorite series, because it was such a reward to be able to read this book. So yeah, that is it. Those were the 7 novels that I consumed in the month of October. October overall was just more of a lifted up month from the last 3, because like I mentioned, we did get out of lockdown, work reopened, where I live is slowly starting to inch back to normal. So overall, a very positive reading month for me, and I am just super happy with all of the books really that I picked up this month. There wasn't one that disappointed me or let me down, and just thank you to the authors that I read from this month for making my month even better. So that will be it for this video. Don't forget to subscribe if you liked what you see, and chuck a like on this video because it does help the channel. Comment down below your favorite read of the month, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!